Hello, hello, hello. Back with another Grimm's fairy tale. So, today I am going to read Dummling and the Three Feathers. Uno, dos, tres. Three feathers. One, two, three. Alrighty. Once upon a time, there lived a king who had three sons, two elder who were learned and bright. But the youngest said very little and appeared somewhat foolish. So he was always known as Dummling. It's not very nice. When the king grew old and feeble, feeling that he was nearing his end, he wished to leave the crown to one of his three sons, but could not decide to which. He thereupon settled that they should travel, and that the one who could obtain the most splendid carpet should ascend to the throne when he died. So that there could be no disagreement as to the way in which one should go, the king conducted them to a courtyard of the palace, and there blew three feathers by turn into the air, telling the sons to follow the course that the three feathers took. Then one of the feathers flew eastwards, the other westwards, but the third went straight up toward the sky, though it only sped a short distance before falling to the earth. Therefore, one son traveled toward the east, the second went to the west, both making fun of poor Dummling, who was obliged to stay where his feather had fallen. Then Dummling, sitting down and feeling rather miserable after his brothers had gone, looked about him and noticed that near to where his feather lay was a trap door. On lifting up, he perceived a flight of steps down which he went. At the bottom was another door, so he knocked upon it and heard a voice calling, "Maiden, fairest, come to me. Make haste to ope the door. A mortal surely you will see, for the world is above is he. We help him from our store." Okay, whatever that means. And the door was flung open, and the young man found himself facing a big toad, sitting in the center of a number of young toads. The big toad addressed him, asking him what he wanted. There's a giant toad with toad babies. And then the door was, and then Dumpling, though rather surprised when he saw the toads and heard them question him, being good hearted, replied politely, "I am desirous to obtain the most splendid carpet in the world. Just now, it would be extremely useful to me." The toad who had just spoken called to a young toad, saying, "Maiden fairest, come to me. 'Tis immortal here to see thee. Let us speed all his desires, giving him what he requires." Okay. Immediately, the young toad fetched a large box. This old one opened and took out an exquisite carpet of so beautiful a design that it certainly could have been manufactured nowhere upon the earth. Taking it with grateful thanks, Dummling went up the flight of steps and was once more in the palace courtyard. The two elder brothers, being of the opinion that the youngest was so foolish that he was of no account whatever in trying to obtain the throne, for they did not think he would find anything at all, had said to each other, "It is not necessary for us to trouble much for looking for the carpet." So they took from the shoulders of the first peasant they came across a coarse shawl, and this they carried to their father. At the same time, Dummling appeared with his beautiful carpet, which he presented to the king, who was very much surprised and said, "By the rights of the throne shall be for my youngest son." But when the two brothers heard this, they gave the king no rest, saying, "How is it possible that Dummling, who is not at all wise, could control the affairs of important kingdom? Make some other conditions, we beg you." "Well," agreed the father, "the one who brings me the most magnificent ring shall succeed to my throne." And once more he took the sons outside the palace. Then again he blew three feathers into the air to show the directions each one should go. Whereupon the two elder sons went east and west, but Dummling flew straight up and fell close to the trap door. Then the youngest son descended the steps as before, and upon seeing a large toad, he asked her and told her what he desired. So the big box was brought, and out of it the toad handed him a ring, which was so exquisite a workmanship that no goldsmith could equal it. So it was real, real, real fancy. Meanwhile, the two older brothers made fun of the idea, Dummling searching for a ring, and they decided to take no needless trouble of themselves. They should have learned their lesson from the first time. He brought an exquisite rug, but they're still ignoring Dummling and thinks he can't do a very good job, so they're not even trying. Therefore, finding an old iron ring that belonged to some harness, they took it to the king, and Dummling was there before them with his valuable ring, and immediately upon his showing it, the father declared that in justice the kingdom should be his. In spite of this, however, the two elder sons were worried that the poor king into important one test further before bestowing his kingdom, and the king giving way, announced that the one who brought home the most beautiful woman should inherit the crown. Then Dummling again descended to the large toad and made known to her that he wished to find the most beautiful woman alive. The most beautiful woman is not always at hand, said the toad. However, you shall have her. Then she gave him a scooped out turnip to which half a dozen little mice were attached. The young man regarded this trifle despondently, for it had no great resemblance to what he was seeking. What? A turnip with mice on it? What can I make of this? He asked. Only, only place in it one of my young toads, replied the large toad, and then you can decide how to use it. From the young toads around the old toad, the young man seized one at hazard and placed it in the scooped out turnip. But hardly was it there when the most astounding change occurred, for the toad was transformed into a wondrously lovely maiden. The turnip became an elegant carriage, and the 6 mice were turned into handsome horses. The young man kissed the maiden and drove off to bring her to the king. So it was kind of like Cinderella. Not long afterwards, the two brothers arrived. In the same way as twice before, they had taken no trouble about the matter, but had picked the first passable looking peasant woman whom they had happened to meet. After glancing at 3, the king said, without a doubt, at my death, the kingdom will be Dumbling's. Once more, the brothers loudly expressed their discontent and gave the king no peace, declaring, it is impossible for us to agree to Dummling becoming ruler of the kingdom. And they insisted that the woman should be required to spring through a hoop which was suspended from the ceiling in the center of the hall, thinking of themselves, now certainly our peasants will get the best if they are active and sturdy, but the fragile lady will kill herself if she jumps. To this again, king consented. At the peasants, this is not very fair. The king just keeps giving them extra chances. Not okay. It gave them a trial. They're trying to jump through a big hoop. To this again the king consented, and the peasants were first given a trial. They sprang through the hoop, indeed, but so clumsily that they fell, breaking their arms and their legs. Ouch! Upon which the lovely lady whom Dummling had brought home leapt through it lightly as a fawn. This put an end to all the contention. So the crown came to Dummling, who lived long and ruled his people temperately and justly. The end. So that one was very different, but had a little bit of similar characteristics to Cinderella. Only as in they did a turnip, not a pumpkin, right? So he seized the scooped up turnip, but hardly was the toad in it when the most astounding change occurred, for the toad was transformed into a wondrously lovely maiden, and the turnip became an elegant carriage, and the 6 mice were turned into handsome horses. And the young man kissed the maiden, and they drove off to bring her to her king. So it's like the Princess and a Frog and Cinderella kind of topsy-turvied and sent together. I thought it was pretty cool. Well, that is our reading today. I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.